Hello, I'm ELD, and this is my first take on all of the black cards from Innistrad Midnight Hunt, the new set that comes out this weekend. These are all the black cards. Arrogant Outlaw starts us off for 3 mana, a 3/2 creature, reasonable power, not great on the backside, but when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, each opponent loses 2 and you gain 2. Potentially a game-winning swing there. Probably going to be in your pool if you're playing black. It's probably going to make the cut as it is a common, and your pre-release pool is not going to be as powerful as, say, your constructed deck or even your draft. But do be mindful of trading down with 2 drops. Can feel pretty bad there. Baneblade Scoundrel, 4 casting costs, 4/3, becomes blocked. Each creature blocking it gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And it's got Daybound on there, so this thing's difficult to block. Has flanking, right? I feel like that's just what flanking is. Becomes blocked. Each creature blocking it gets -1. Yeah, I think that's literally just flanking. Boneclaw Marauder on the backside. Whenever it becomes blocked, I mean, it still has flanking, but whenever a creature blocking it dies, then they lose 1 life. So, and that's a pretty big threat. The 4 casting costs, reasonable power, difficult to block, especially double block. This card seems totally fine, and it does get slightly bigger at night. A Bat Whisperer, vampire for 4 and 4 power. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, create a 1/1 bat with flying. Not bad. Not bad value. The backside there again, a little bit of a concern that may be a recurring theme with black. We'll see. Bladebrand. Target creature gains death touch until end of turn. Draw a card. This can be useful with those decay tokens. It can be useful with the smaller creatures drawing a card. Of course, you can also get blown out with removal in response to this. If the target that you are targeting is no longer there, if the spell has no valid target on resolution, then it's going to get countered and you're not going to draw a card. So that's how that works for you new players. Any spell that has any targets, if the targets are not valid upon resolution, if all of them are not valid, then the spell is actually countered, even if the other effects have nothing to do with the original targeting, such as drawing a card or any other nice bonus. A Bloodpacked, 3 casting cost instant. Target player draws 2 and loses 2 life. That's a somewhat surprising instant. Yeah, all right. I mean, that's a common potential for Pauper. I'm interested in that. That's something that Mono Black could potentially consider. So we've got Sign in Blood at sorcery speed. Would you be willing to pay 1 more mana for it to be instant? I mean, if you're a multicolor deck, maybe. I mean, Mono Black, it's probably a tough sell in Pauper to want to go and pay the extra mana compared to Sign in Blood. Just 2 mana at sorcery speed is probably fine, but maybe in a blue-black shell. We don't have Gush and like other card drawing on. Bloodline Culling. Choose 1. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn, or creature tokens get -2/-2 till end of turn. That's an interesting super. Blood Tithe Collector. Another somewhat expensive vampire here. This one is, however, a flying 3/4 body, so worth the 5 mana in all likelihood. Plus, when it enters the battlefield, and if an opponent lost life this turn, each opponent discards a card. That's actually a really solid turn 5 in most pre-release pools. Be able to hit your opponent and cast this. That's going to be pretty damaging. And as the game goes on longer, depending on your opponent, they may not actually have anything except for high quality cards. Now, stronger players will often hold back some lands and not continue making land drops when they're playing against black, being able to discard those lands in the case of a card like this. Pretty devastating if you've only got like 2 bombs left and you're kind of flooding out. Of course, some of those bombs do require you to continually make your land drops, so it can be a tough spot when you're playing against black if they have access to this discard to be able to utilize every resource available without the best options getting stripped. Eventually, you're going to end up playing off the top of the deck if your opponent is playing enough discard. So at that point, their discard becomes pretty terrible because you don't have any cards in hand. Start to draw blanks. So his discard is kind of a complicated dynamic for limited. Generally, I don't want to go that route, but there are times where there's kind of efficient enough discard at common to make that a consistent, useful line. Champion of the Parish. I mean, Wizards cannot resist upon Champion of the Parish. Of course, the human at 1 mana, which is, I mean, I'd say the backbone of the human deck. It certainly brings the most violence. Of course, Meddling Mage and Thalia and other disruptive bears are a problem, but Thalia's Lieutenant and Champion of the Parish are the ones that really push through major damage. Those are going to be doing the real teeth kicking, and now we've got a zombie that mirrors that for the potential zombie tribes. Don't know that that's going to be good enough for constructed. Eventually, I'd imagine it will be, but for now, this is certainly a potential zombie card. And remember, zombies have like a ton of ways of recurring. For example, Gravecrawler with a Phyrexian Altar and sacking it over and over and over again to cast from the graveyard every time, going infinite, potentially generating zombie tokens with Bridge from Below each time. I mean, there's a lot more potential, I think, already for a zombie lord like this or a zombie champion like this compared to what humans had to work with. So this guy could quickly become a fan favorite and perhaps even a constructed star. Covert Cutpurse, got a 3 mana 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature you don't control that was dealt damage this turn. Not a May effect. All right, fair enough. That's an interesting way that they worded that. So that is going to potentially back up your smaller creatures. If you throw them into bad blocks, you can follow up with this guy. The 3 mana for a 2-power creature. I believe we've seen some like Vraska's, might be like Vraska's Finishers. I feel like that one had like a working title. They just never changed. But we've seen this type of effect before. Be playable, if not overwhelming. And the Disturb side is going to be a flying Death Touch. That is spicy. I mean, I'll take that deal. 5 mana for the 2/2 flyer out of the graveyard that also has Death Touch. That is not bad. That's going to trade just about anything. And of course, 2/2 flyers can just get the job done if you can hold down the ground, just send in 2 to 4 damage in the air each turn. The game is going to be over eventually. And not really taking that long. You're talking about a 4 or 5 turn clock. Crawl from the Cellar, a sorcery for 1 black. Return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target zombie you control, and it has flashback. 1 mana, that does a lot. I mean, I think zombie decks will certainly enjoy that, and the flashback is a welcome addition to a card that was probably going to see play in a lot of tribal zombie decks in Commander anyways. Now, I'd imagine you're going to make room for that. Depending on the power level. A lot of zombie decks are just like straight up combo. There's so much synergy within the tribe, but just like a good fun zombie deck, I suspect we'll have fun with that. Curse of Leeches, another curse. These are interesting because there is a legacy deck that has Curse of, what is it? Misfortunes. Sorry for the pause. Curse of Misfortune, and that gets additional curses each turn. So kind of regardless of the mana cost of a curse, I'm generally going to take a look at it when it's spoiler season in terms of potential playability for Legacy, which is hilarious to me that literally any curse might end up being playable. It's kind of like big, dumb creatures. Any one of them could possibly be good enough regardless of the mana cost because we have Reanimator strategy. So while you'll never use it for its retail value, there's a deck that can potentially find a home for it. So here we go. Curse of Leeches, 3 mana, getting tossed on a player. And at the beginning of their upkeep, they lose 1, you gain 1. That's probably not going to do. On the backside, it's going to become a 4/4 lifelinker. So I don't think that the Legacy deck is going to need this. That is an interesting one.